title of this week's CQM Forecast Alert is "The U.S. Real Economy is Doing Well in 2021 Q2, but the problem is rising inflation." BEA released advanced 2021 Q1 GDP on April 29th, but since advanced March inventories for retailers and Census imported goods released the day before were very different from the ARIMA forecast of the previous week, so I tried to run extra CQM forecast on April 28 by updating these March actual figures. On April 23, CQM had forecasted using ARIMA inventories for retailers would increase 1.7% in March. However, retail inventories released on April 28 have been revised from a 0.05% increase to a 0.58% decrease in February, and also fell sharply by 1.4% in March. It was a big gap between ARIMA forecast and actual figures in March. As a result, CQM on April 23 significantly overestimated inventory changes in retail industry. April 23 CQM had forecasted that imported goods would increase 2.0% in March. However, imported goods on census basis released on April 28 significantly increased 6.8%, and BEA with that information assumed a 7.2% increase for March imported goods on BOP base in March. Therefore, CQM on April 23 underestimates imported goods significantly. This graph is the result of forecasting the 2021 Q1 economic growth rate by updating advanced March inventories for wholesalers and retailers, and census March exported and imported goods, which were released on April 28. The economic growth rate on the expenditure side is close to the BEA's advanced figures, but the economic growth rate on the income side is as high as 8.24%. One reason for this is that CQM forecasted the growth rate of GDP price deflator to be 2.83% in 2021 Q1, which is lower by 1.24% compared to the advanced figure of 4.07%. Of course, in reality, the economic growth rate from both the expenditure and income side will be different. This graph is a CQM forecast of 2021 Q2 GDP by updating advanced 2021 Q1 GDP and March personal income and consumption expenditures. Economic growth rate of about 5% can be expected in 2021 Q2. The growth rates of real aggregated indexes other than GDP are also between 4% and 6%. It is likely that the economy has been expanding steadily in the current quarter as well. The concern in 2021 Q2 is that inflation is on the rise. Headline inflation has already risen to nearly 4%, and core PCE inflation is above 2.5%. Conclusion from this week's US CQM Forecast Alert. First, updating March inventories for wholesalers and retailers, and exported and imported goods revised downward the economic growth rate from 7.47% to 6.95% on the expenditure side, which is close to the advanced GDP. Second, the real economy in the current quarter can be expected to grow by about 5%. But the third conclusion is inflation has been rising above the Fed's target. This slide contains information about this week's detailed CQM forecast, the original developer of CQM, and CQM theory papers.